Do you feel like you can go home now? It's time for Easter brunch. Woo! So happy Sunday. What a blessing it is to be together on this Sunday. And there is so much to say. There is so much to contemplate. There is so much to experience in this activity of Easter and the metaphysical teachings of how expansive this day and this consciousness is. But we can't get it all in today, so if you would like to continue coming, we'll try to have it unfold through the rest of the year. Unless you don't have anything to do after this. I have a saying that I inherited from a line of Unity ministers that goes something like this. Ministers are not here to, I always do this. It's not a joke, but it's close enough to a joke that I just did it in my mind. Someone's going to get it better than I am. It's something like not to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Got it? Ministers are here to comfort the afflicted, but afflict the comfortable. I'm bad at telling stories and jokes in a way. But you got the point, right? So I have a Unity minister friend who says that with his congregation, he lets them know, he tells them, I'm kind of like a personal trainer. You come to see me because you know it's good, it's exercise, you're actually doing it of your own accord and your own choice. Yet sometimes when you're there and sometimes when your mind is expanding and your muscles are going, you go, ah. And it's uncomfortable because we're stretching and we're growing. Well, we might be on the softer side of that, but I liked that analogy. So what is so amazing about this Christmas time, this Easter time? That's great. What is so amazing? Because this story would not be with us if it were not a vibrating, radiating, energetic field of consciousness that has been demonstrated in and through people that are not just limited to the man Jesus himself, the Christ, but people that have listened to his story, listened to his walk, listened to that experience, and decided there is something there and I'm going to take it on, I'm going to try it on, I'm going to dedicate my life to this unfolding that the master teacher has shared. So what is so amazing? Is it so amazing that there was life after death? Is it so amazing that we teach that the cross is about crossing out error and taking on new life? Well, if we look in the sacred scripture, we can tell that even before Jesus himself entered into the tomb and engaged the resurrection and the ascension, we know that Jesus resurrected Lazarus. We know that Jesus walked into the home of Martha and Mary, and Lazarus had no life. And in conversation with Martha, Jesus made a few teaching points that are metaphysically powerful about, do you believe? Do you believe he can come back? Do you believe me? Do you believe in life? Do you believe in God? And from that demonstration said, then Lazarus come forth. And there was a resurrection. In fact, when Lazarus had been gone for 4 supposed days, gone long enough that they said, don't move away that stone because you'll smell the corpse. So is it the resurrection? Is that why we're talking about it being so amazing, or is there something even more to grasp onto? In Unity, we teach that there is in fact a second coming. But the second coming is not about us waiting and sitting and hoping that somewhere from out there, someone will descend, and we know who, will descend right into physical form necessarily and take all of us up with. But that there is a magnificent consciousness that was reverberated into the field, the great field that awakens all beings, all men and all women to their divinity if they're willing to follow these teachings, if they're willing to take it on and demonstrate the truth taught by the master teacher. And then, in fact, that second coming is the awakening of the Christ within all of us. And the tipping point as we may say in the new ideas of quantum physics, the tipping point that brings about a new heaven and a new earth. That's pretty amazing. But there is a tendency to focus on the beginning and the end, is there not, with the Easter story? There's a tendency to so focus on the beginning and the end that we tend to glorify the beginning and the end. And as I heard this little story shared with me last week, it's not so much on our tombstones, it's not so much the birth year and the death year, but what's in the dash in between. And in Unity, that's one of our great focuses, is the dash in between. And if you can think about this, the birth year and the death year are specific. They're specific to a person and a time and a place, but not the dash. The dash is universal. The dash is just there holding the space in between, saying, yes, all of us have this life and this light, have been born into this creation to be what we are intended to be. And if we but open our hearts and open our minds to a new experience, to be guided, to be fully immersed in the love that is free and ever present, then maybe we will awaken this new humanity within ourselves. That in fact, it's not something that we have to struggle or strive for. That was the teaching of Jesus the Christ. What was different about Jesus was, even though people kept trying to say he's purely divine, 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 Jesus kept bringing people back and going, I am human. I'm a man. That is so amazing. Because I believe the master teacher knew, if it gets in people's minds that I am so far away from what they are, the second coming will never be here. We will never arrive. If everyone thinks they're so different than me, then how will they try on my teachings? Instead, they will just be staring at me. I believe he taught something that may be even more difficult than just staring at the birth year and the end year of the physical life form. He asked us to stare at the consciousness and to transfix ourselves so deeply by that consciousness that we in fact become that consciousness that is already present, that before humanity was even birthed in physical form, it was known in the mind of God. It was known in the mind of God as the true nature of humanity. Jesus stressed the teaching to not separate the demonstration, to show the life that is the true life, to show the realm of consciousness. And in fact, a realm of consciousness where we teach and we try on the possibility, and this might be a stretch, but the possibility that we have already arrived, that the only thing that keeps us distant from the experience is our mind's doubt and our disbelief, that we are actually immersed, swimming within a field of God consciousness. Jesus knew that and demonstrated that. He arrived to show you, to show me, to show humanity the door, the portal. But if we stare too long in one place, we don't recognize that the portal is in fact our own becoming. The portal is in fact our journey. We have a speaker coming next Sunday. His name is Philip Goldberg. He's an interfaith minister, and he wrote the book American Veda. And I want to share with you a piece from this book. It's a story about enlightenment, about awakening, about the spiritual path, and asking the questions, what, where, how. It's in his chapter called Into the Mystic. One day, during the 9 years as he lived as an ascetic in the jungles of India, Ram Das Lam was asked by his guru's guru, what religion he grew up in. Lam said that he was raised Catholic. Did you pray to Jesus? The teacher asked. Lamb said he had done so as a boy, adding flippantly that he stopped when he left the church as a teenager. The sadhu smacked him over the head, and then he gave Lamb new marching orders. Pray to Jesus every morning. His explanation, as Lamb recalls it, on the road to wisdom, a wide vision of God is needed. I'm going to say that again. On the road to wisdom, a wide vision of God is needed. Moving from one narrow view to another narrow view will not accomplish anything. Everyone still breathing? There's a piece I also want to share from, you know a book's good when there's something that you want to share from the footnotes? I want to share this to you from the footnotes, from the writing of Meister Eckhart. The writings of Meister Eckhart resemble the non-dual Eastern masters. A sampler, he says, the spirit is free of all names. It is bare of all forms, wholly empty and free. The seed of God is in us. Given an intelligent and hard-working farmer, it will thrive and grow up to be God, whose seed it is. And accordingly, its fruits will be God nature. The eye with which I see God is the eye with which God sees me. Sounds a bit like the teachings of the master teacher. In unity, we meditate on anything, everything, the new unfoldments within us, knowing that this God that is beyond form, this God that is beyond religion, comes to us as insights, as divine ideas in myriad ways. And our path is that to be open, to be present, to be teachable, and to be reachable in any and every moment, and to have a spiritual practice that brings us into the reachable state of consciousness. If you know the works of John Shelby Spong, he refers to unity when he gives the world his appreciation of unity teachings, and he quotes it in a response letter he sent to someone who had asked a question and answer series. And this is what he says. Thank you for your letter. I've had the pleasure of being at Lee's Summit on several occasions and have spoken in perhaps as many as 200 unity churches across the nation. I find the unity movement exciting and open. It is not, however, the metaphysical interpretations of the scriptures that impresses me, so much as their insistence on seeing religion as an asset to wholeness. They simply are not into sin, original or otherwise. The traditional Christian message, which is rooted in the theology of Augustine in the 4th century and expanded in the 12th century, is based on the assumption that human life began as perfection, only to fall into sin, and therefore it needed to be rescued, saved, or redeemed. So Jesus is presented as Savior, Redeemer, or Rescuer. By defining Jesus in this way, we also inevitably define human life as fallen or lost. I think that it is an incorrect description of the origins of human life, and any theological system based on that primary assumption will inevitably contribute to the destruction, not the enhancement of human life. We human beings are not fallen sinners so much as we are creatures evolving towards some future destiny. We have never been perfect, we have never fallen, and we don't need to be saved. So what then do we ask ourselves so often, what we're here to do and here to be? What then is our path to awakening God consciousness and to living out our conscious destiny, to living out our lives? Jesus taught that ours is to become the door. From one of my favorite books, a book called I Am the Door that we've been studying from in the weeks leading up to Easter, not Christmas, Easter. He says this: "There was a time when I offered to be the door for you. Now you too must become the door." In another passage, he says, "Within your heart and mind right now is the original spark of creation. It belongs to you and can never leave you. No matter where your life takes you, no matter how far you stray from the path, you cannot extinguish that spark of divinity with your own consciousness. It was and is God's gift to you. You can forget about the gift, but you cannot give it back." He goes on to say, when you acknowledge this spark and nurture it, and he didn't say this, but as the master teacher did, because he is speaking from that voice, the light within you grows. The more attention you give to it, the more it expands until your whole being is surrounded by light. Even total strangers feel the rays of your love touching them. Then you too become the friend, the Christ, the Buddha, the compassionate one. The light of truth, he says, lives even in the darkest places. There is no such thing as a total absence of light. You are here to enter the darkness you see in yourself and others and find the light that lives there. Once you find the light, no matter how insignificant it seems, your life will never be the same. When we find that life and that light, we have found our victory voice. We have found the doorway, the portal to our true nature, coming together in harmony and unity to teach this powerful teaching to the world, to bring it about person by person, moment by moment.
One by one, I wrote down the names of the friends in my life who belong to the same tribe. I don't mean a race, color, or religion, being united by a common decision by deciding in our hearts to be voices for the victory of love, light, and harmony over darkness. We've already won in our minds. The trick is not to buy into the fear that binds our way. Teach our children to lean on spirit and truth and trust the dawn and say, knowing in our hearts we're free, voices for the victory of love, light, and harmony right now. We've already won, let's make that clear. The trick is not to validate the lies and fears. We're free. We're free. Ooh, we're free.
From a book that we studied earlier this year, the Zen Commandments, it says this: early Christians widely declared it a heresy to deny that Christ had human qualities. To deny it. To deny that Christ had human qualities. Idealizing the teacher is dangerous. It is usually followed by disillusionment when the teacher fails to conform to a model that is of our own creation, not his. I believe that's why the master teacher kept saying, I and the Father are one. I and the Father are one, and I am, he said, the life and the resurrection. I am the life and the resurrection. He demonstrated the activity, the full activity of the portal being merged with the source, the expression being merged with the source being so known in the expression that it is vibrant, awake, alive, and demonstrating. Jesus taught a deeper awareness, an awareness of a path of death, but a death before death. A death that doesn't have to do even with the flesh. A demonstration that can remind us all when we take it on that there is nothing that we cannot overcome, nothing that is beyond the power of the resurrection. The Christ cannot be killed. The life cannot be killed. The way, the truth, and the resurrection can never be destroyed. It is always right here as an effervescent consciousness, a living field, magnetic, inviting. When this life is well lived, it belongs to everyone. When it is highly demonstrated, it becomes a mighty magnet. It becomes eternal. It blows out your battery. In the book, I Am the Door, it says, I am as close to you as you would have me be. That is because I am already a thought within your mind. And everything that I am proceeds from that thought, just as everything I am not proceeds from a different thought. I am a thought without limitation, for I am ever expanding into the formlessness of God. He goes on to say, it is in your thoughts that you choose to walk with me or walk away from me. If you would like to be like me, you must learn to think like me. From the Gospel of Thomas, saying number 22. Jesus saw some little ones nursing. He said to his disciples, these little ones who are nursing resemble those who enter the kingdom. They said to him, shall we enter the kingdom by being little ones? Jesus said to them, when you make the two one and make the inside like the outside and the outside like the inside and the above like the below, and that you might make the male and the female be one and the same, so that the male might not be male, nor the female be female. When you make eyes in place of an eye, and a hand in place of a hand, and a foot in place of a foot, an image in the place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom. Then you will enter the kingdom. When we move fully from the state of duality into the state of unity, into the state of consciousness that goes beyond form, that sees the invisible, that moves beyond making human distinctions and pressing human limitations on life. we begin to taste the everlasting life. So, what is it for you this Easter? What is it that God has given to you that you have not yet given back to God? In the life of all saints, sages, and master teachers, the common characteristic is that they fully gave their lives back to that which gave them life. In any and every way they could possibly demonstrate that truth. So what is it for each of us today that we have not yet given back in dedication to God consciousness? Health. God has given each of us a body temple. Are we stewarding it? Divine ideas. We are each born with divine ideas. We have them. They are in our consciousness. Are we activating them, taking action on them, circulating them in dedication to the greater good and to awakening a love that has no opposite? The gifts of the Spirit. All are endowed with gifts of the Spirit. Have we kept them in a closet? Have we kept them hidden? Have we kept them under a bushel basket? Or do we know that it's not even our right to keep these gifts? That in fact it's our calling and our charge to share them and to spread them, to give them back to God consciousness. Our wisdom. We've been given the gift of wisdom. Do we use it? We've been given compassionate hearts. Do we offer them out? We've been given hands. Do we help? And we've been given eyes. Do we use them to make the invisible visible? The big question on this Sunday is, how would your life change if you really knew that death was not real? How would you live your life differently if you really knew within every fiber of your being, unequivocally, without a doubt, that death was not real, that life was in fact eternal? If you knew you went beyond a body and consciousness, how would that transform how you feel, what you seek, your goals, your priorities, your purpose, how you spend time, your investments, even your courage? If you knew, really knew, that life was eternal. This is the great demonstration. The great demonstration is that nothing and no one can take your joy from you, that you are born in this original blessing, and that you are here to demonstrate that joy. A dear friend said to me when he lost a parent, he said, "People keep asking me, they always ask when someone dies, how did they die?" And he said, "I'm going to stop answering that. The better question is, how did he live?"